Hello, I'm Dr. Gordon Pedersen. I'd like to introduce you to the SilverSol molecule. It's made up of atoms. 4 atoms of oxygen are the white spheres. The silver spheres are silver. 4 atoms of silver. This makes up the molecule SilverSol. Chemical name Ag4 for silver 4. O4 for oxygen 4. The yellow are the hydrogens because each oxygen has 2 hydrogens on it, making it H2O, or a water molecule. 1, 2, 3, 4 water molecules with a permanent structure of silver bonded to it is the SilverSol molecule. It can destroy bacteria, viruses, mold, fungus, yeast, protozoa, and it can do so safely, and it is different than a colloidal or an ionic silver. Let me show you why. First of all, if this molecule were floating through your bloodstream, once you can enter the bloodstream, this is small enough to enter a single red blood cell. That's how tiny it is. Now, if it comes in contact with a bacteria, let's say this is the bacteria, and this is the silver on the outside of the SilverSol molecule. It's missing 1 electron. This 1 electron wants an electron really bad. So it comes in contact with a bacteria membrane and it steals the electron from the bacteria, and slowly the bacteria ruptures, all of its contents drain out, the immune system cleans it up. We call that killing the bacteria. With that in mind, SilverSol does more than that, because what you saw was just a colloidal or ionic silver killing by stealing 1 electron. Now the SilverSol molecule is much better than that. SilverSol is missing 3 electrons on this silver, while this atom is missing only 1. This is called monovalent and this is called trivalent, and it tries to balance itself out. So a single high energy particle goes back and forth at high speed. From the 3 to the 1 overall, it gives off a 2 bivalent message. What that means is there's a high energy going on back and forth all the time, and that's a resonant frequency. You see, that actually makes this a semiconductor. This magnetic energy is giving off an energy that's measured at 910 terahertz. In other words, the same frequency that germicidal lights resonate at is 910 terahertz. What that means is those lights, as well as this particle, kill bacteria, viruses, and yeast. With that in mind, wouldn't you like to have this inside a single red blood cell, circulating through your whole body, resonating at a frequency that kills germs? That's exactly what it does, and that's not what colloidal and ionic silvers do. This is what bacteria actually looks like under a microscope when it's killed by SilverSol. In addition to that, you have the ability to be highly energized and safe. What that means is a colloidal is just a silver and an oxygen put together, and it falls out of solution, kind of like a whole bunch of really tiny silver dust particles called nanoparticles sprinkled into the water, and over time they'll settle out to the bottom. That's why they're not safe, because they aggregate in your system, in your blood system, in your fats, in your brain. They accumulate and they can become argyria. That's the blue man syndrome, or the graying of the skin. See, SilverSol won't do that, because these 4 particles of water are permanently bonded to the silver. It can't fall out of solution. It can't aggregate at the bottom. That means it's not going to aggregate in your skin or in your fats or in your brain. It's not a heavy metal poisoning, and it's not going to turn your skin blue. That is in the Merck index. With that in mind, let's take another look at what it can do. By accumulating an electron, it becomes highly energized. So let's say this electron is attached to the electron of the silver particle that's missing 1 electron. It draws it off the bacteria. Now this fires over to the 3 electron missing silver, and it hyper-energizes the oxygen. Okay, what does that mean? That means this electron is bouncing back and forth at a high energy, energizing the oxygen, and now the whole molecule becomes highly energized and overbalanced, so it will fire an electron at high energy in the presence of oxygen. Let me illustrate what that means to you. If I were to take high energy, like this spark, and I were to mix it with something that was just oxygen, you can pump oxygen into a high energy system, and what's going to happen? Huge things are going to happen. For instance, that's what's going to happen. And if you've got a situation where you've got a high energy particle and you have a spark, or an oxygen present spark, you're going to be able to do many, many, many more times killing. So let's take a look at what that means. That means SilverSol is stealing an electron, hypercharging this entire molecule, and now the oxygen becomes highly energized. The electron is fired off, and I call this nano-electrocution of the bacteria. Yeah, you're electrocuting the bacteria. So if this were a bacteria, symbolizing as such, all these individual bacteria along here, along comes the silver, steals the electron, now the membrane is ruptured. And or, at the same time, you've got this ability. You can go right along here and you can fire these electrons, and under high energy or in the presence of oxygen, you have massive killing that's the ability to be done here, and thus the membrane gets ruptured and you've got it all in one big giant dead particle. In other words, the bacteria molecule dies, or any of the other pathogens do as well. So let's summarize this by saying this is the SilverSol molecule. Ag, that means silver, 4 particles, permanently bound to 4 water molecules in a structure where it won't fall out of solution, so it's not going to cause argyria. By the way, this is water soluble, and it can't penetrate fats. So if you've got good bacteria in your intestines like all the rest of us have, and you want to keep it good, this water-soluble molecule won't penetrate your good bacteria, because your good bacteria are lactobacillus, meaning that it's a milk fat that is surrounding the bacteria, different from all other bacteria molecules. So the water-soluble silver can't penetrate the fat, and it won't kill your good bacteria. Your healthy red blood cells or any other tissue cells have a lipid bilayer. Lipid means fat. Waters can't penetrate, so it won't kill your healthy cells either. With that in mind, you've got a SilverSol that's not going to accumulate, not going to cause heavy metal, will kill the bacteria, viruses, mold, and it's not going to be a problem to your healthy flora. With that in mind, let's summarize by saying this. SilverSol is different than a colloid. Here's why. If you want to make if I want to show you a colloid, I've got to do this. I've got to tear this apart and tear off some of its active ingredients, and now that is a colloid. A silver and an oxygen, and it has the ability to come up against a bacteria and steal an electron, and the bacteria slowly dies. That's it. And it will fall out of solution, and it will aggregate, and it will cause problems in your system. In addition, it will not resonate at a frequency like SilverSol will. It will not do what SilverSol will, because there aren't structures here to support it. In other words, you're not going to get the oxygen support like you will in SilverSol, and you're not going to get that firing back of a highly active electron that works like a bullet passing right through a car and killing the membrane, because it's in the presence of a specialized oxygen called a singlet. This is important because colloidal is good. It's just not nearly as good as putting it all together, all in the same place, permanently bonding it so that it will kill on contact, and it will identify selectively particles that have nitrogen or have sulfur on their surface. Well, those are rapidly progressing and dividing pathogens like bacteria, viruses, fungus, and that's why silver selectively bonds to them. Simply put, you've got a rapid fire machine gun, and you can use it much safer than a colloid or ionic. Colloids are good, but they're just a single-shot revolver compared to this killing machine, if you will. So you can see that the homework is done, the science is developed, the killing is exponentially greater than colloids or ionics, and it's much, much safer to use.